Hello friends, welcome back to Meta Paperclip. My name's Toomey, and today we're going to have a look at how you can bring any object from the real world, or even your imagination, into the metaverse. I'm going to be using this red paperclip because that's the goal of this channel. I want to bring this real life red paperclip into the metaverse so that I can trade it for other metaverse things until we end up with our own house in the metaverse. Paperclip challenge has been happening for years, but we're going to be the first people to do it in the metaverse. But first things first, very important step is how do we actually bring this real life paperclip into the metaverse. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. But before we get started, you're going to need an Ethereum address. I've already made a video covering how to get set up in the metaverse, so I advise checking that out first if you're new to all this. And here's the address that I've created for this project. Okay, it's here, they're the 42 characters that go into the address, but I've actually registered the name metapaperclip.eth just so it's easier to locate, because if I'm going to trade this paperclip for items within the metaverse, that's all going to be recorded under this address, which means for the rest of time, anyone can go to this address and look up all the trades and all the items involved, who currently owns them, who's owned them in the past. That'll all be available through the blockchain, which is what makes this project really unique compared to anyone doing it in the real world. You know, the only record you have of the trades you make are things that you do yourself, whether you film it or you make blog posts like Carl McDonald in 2005. He was the first one to complete this. And the only record of his trades and the items involved are recorded through his blog, which obviously he has to do himself. So, you know, he traded his paperclip for a pen, and I can almost guarantee you'll never be able to find that paperclip. Whereas on the blockchain, all you'll need to do is go to metapaperclip.eth, scroll down to the transaction where the paperclip was created, which is what we're going to do today, and you'll be able to follow it from there. You'll be able to see exactly who's owned that paperclip in time, who owns it now. The entire history will be recorded on the blockchain forever, and I think that's pretty cool. So first of all, how do we get a digital paperclip on this address? Well, first things first, we need to create a digital replica of this paperclip. And you can create 3D objects, digital 3D objects, in a program called Blender. Now, to use Blender, as you can see, it's quite complicated and it will require quite a bit of learning which I'm not prepared to do. So another option is you can head over to Fiverr and you can find hundreds of people that know how to use this software and create items for you. I found this guy here. He says, I'll provide a GLB, GLTF, those are the 3D file names, for AR and VR. And he was reasonably priced, so I reached out. I sent him photographs of this red paperclip with measurements and stuff. He sent me a few quotes, and like within a couple hours, we had this 3D file delivered to us. And when I first saw it, I thought that is perfect. It's even got the metal inside the red plastic, but there's a few things I wanted to change. So as you can see, he's got it lying down flat, which is fair enough. It's like the photos that I sent him, and that makes it a bit awkward to navigate. I thought it's also a bit dark. So I went back to him, I said, can you have it standing upright and make it a little bit brighter? And that's when we got delivered this, which I think looks much better. Stood upright, we've got the shadow. It's good for display in the metaverse. I then did spend a bit of time learning Blender because I wanted to add an animation. You know, I wanted the paperclip to rotate while it's on display. So that took me a few hours just to learn how to use Blender, and I created this little 3D animation here. And then once exported, we end up with our final 3D copy, which looks like this. And it's a 3D file. I can move it around. I can zoom out. I can zoom all the way in, and it will never lose detail. You can pause the animation as well. It doesn't have to be rotating. That is something that's built into the file. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a cool looking paperclip. It's pretty much an exact replica of the one here. So now I've got my 3D replica, or my 3D paperclip, and it's time to put it into the metaverse. So typically, if you want to mint an item onto the blockchain, onto your address on the blockchain, you need to interact with a smart contract, which is a whole lot of code. And normally when you're minting something like you're purchasing an NFT, the contract will have, oh yeah, if this person sends, you know, X amount of Ethereum to this address, the mint process is initiated and the file will be put onto your blockchain address. And contracts it's coding. You know, it's a lot of code to do that. It's very complicated. You probably could hire a coder to create a smart contract for you. But luckily, OpenSea can already do this for us. The same way that they facilitate trades within the blockchain, they can facilitate mints within the blockchain. So I've logged into OpenSea with the Meta Paperclip account, and you can see it's got the Ethereum name registered here. And you can see there's the NFT for the Ethereum name that I've registered. And if you notice top right, they actually have a create option, which is essentially going to use their own smart contract to mint our NFT. We'll take a look at what that looks like. I just need to sign this quickly with my ledger. Cool, so once we're through, this process is pretty much the same as adding a photo onto social media. We can add the image, a name, we can give it a link and a bit of a description, some other information, but it's what happens in the back end which is very, very different. So I'm just going to fill in all these details and then we'll take a look at what happens next. All right, so there we go. I filled in all the information. I've uploaded the 3D file. I've given it a preview image that's a bit more aesthetically pleasing than just the 3D file on a white background. We're going to just call it Meta Paperclip. I've linked the website metapaperclip.com, which is going to be a great space for you guys to go and look at every single trade with a bit more detail as I make videos about it and we sort of explore the metaverse. So definitely check out the website as this project progresses. And then the description, I've just written in the very first paperclip to be traded for a house within the metaverse. And you can add some other bits. You can put it in a collection and add some properties, but being just a basic red paperclip, none of that's really necessary for me right now. And then at the bottom, you have a choice of blockchains as well. So I'm going to try and keep this project on Ethereum as much as possible, but on OpenSea, you can mint things through Polygon. But for the sake of trying to keep everything neat and tidy, I'm just going to stick to Ethereum from now, and then we can go ahead and create this one. That's just going to take a minute to mint, and then here we go. We now have you have created Meta Paperclip. Woot! And if we close that down, here it is on OpenSea. You can see there's the description that I wrote in, minted to us. And down at the bottom here, we can see the contract address. So this is the contract for OpenSea's minting process. This is essentially what I've interacted with to mint it on the blockchain as opposed to writing my own contract. Because here you go, if we go into contract, this is what it looks like, and I have no idea what any of that means, okay? But if we go back to my profile on OpenSea, there it is now. I've got the metapaperclip.eth name, and then we've also got my paperclip now registered to my address on the blockchain. So now that we've got our paperclip on the blockchain, what can I actually do with it, apart from just being a 3D file stored on the blockchain? Well, there's a service here called Cyber. The website is cyber.xyz, and these are basically virtual galleries where you can host your NFTs for people to come and look at. And I actually own a couple of these galleries already on another account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Meta Paperclip as a contributor to my personal account, and within there I'll be able to display the paperclip. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like. Okay, so here's one of the virtual spaces that I own. This is called a Space Pod by Artifact, and it's just like a virtual apartment, although there's no multiplayer, so it's basically just a gallery that looks like a virtual apartment. And as you can see, all over the place there's these spots where you can add your NFT assets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and add the paperclip to my desk, because I feel like that's where a paperclip should sit. So if we go and add an asset here, and here I can click the Meta Paperclip that we've just minted on the blockchain, and there it is. It's added our 3D paperclip, which we can move around this space. We can drag it wherever we want. We can add some rotation. So I want it lying flat on the desk. So let's try and get that right. I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to resize it so it looks like it's laying flat on my desk. All right, there we go. It took a little bit of fiddling around, bit of rotation and moving, but there you go. I now have my red paperclip on my desk. It might be a little bit too big to be realistic. I could scale it all the way down to a more realistic paperclip size. In fact, yeah, let's leave that one there as a realistic little paperclip on my desk. But what we can actually do, because we built in that animation, we can have a bit of a better one on display on the desk here. Look, if we put the asset on again, and now let's move it up. And again, I'm just going to try and get it so it's standing upright a bit. It took a bit more fiddling around to get it in position, but there it is. There's my 3D Meta Paperclip on display on the table. And that animation that I built in earlier in Blender, I can turn on. And there you go. Isn't that pretty? Just sitting there spinning around. And this is a public gallery space, so you guys can go and look at this paperclip in the metaverse. What I'll do up here is I'll add the custom domain cyberxyz/meta paperclip, copy the link, and then if you guys go to cyber.xyz/meta paperclip, which I'll link in the description below, it'll load up my virtual space. You can enter the world and walk around, and there you can see the paperclip on display. And if I press E, it'll actually show us the blockchain information about this, and you can go and view it on OpenSea where we minted it. So I think that's a perfect example of sort of proof of ownership and NFTs. Because it's in this virtual space that I own and it's on display, no one else can replicate that. Sure, you can get a 3D model yourself and upload it, but that's not the same. Just like paperclips in real life, there's millions of them in existence, but this one is mine. The same applies here. You can make as many copies of that 3D file as you want and upload into the blockchain. But what the blockchain proves is this paperclip is mine. And that is the core foundation of this project, is trading objects that I own for objects that other people own until we own our own house within the metaverse. So I think that'll do it today. If you have any questions, leave a comment, hit me up on social media. We're at MetaPaperclip across everything. And the next step is going to be trying to trade this paperclip for something else. So stick around. I can't wait to see what we're able to trade this for and what it does in the metaverse. That's what this project's all about. We're going to explore the metaverse one trade at a time. But until then, bye friends.